Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant. Streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at WarnerArchiveInstant.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com. Kimball Beauty, offering a complete line of hair care products, is a proud sponsor of Just Seen It. Great hair equals great confidence. Learn more at KimballBeauty.com. James Hunt is a handsome Formula One race driver with a love for the ladies. NIki Lauda is his disciplined and gifted rival.
To be a champion, it takes more than just being quick. You have to really believe it.
He's consistent, dependable.
Will he put his life on the line the day that really matters?
The two spar on and off the track during the 1976 World Championship season in Rush.
Hi, I'm Zorianna.
I'm Aaron.
And I'm Sean. We're going to roll up to the starting line to talk about Rush, directed by Ron Howard. We've all just seen it. Aaron, start your engines for me and tell me about Rush.
The script was written by Peter Morgan, who has previously written for Ron Howard, including Frost Nixon. The story does take a little time to get its wheels spinning, if you know what I mean. It's a little slow for the first 45 minutes, but it's slow for a reason. We're getting character development, we're understanding who these people are and why they are motivated in the ways that they are.
I love the fact that we really got to know these characters slowly but surely, and by the time the big accident happens, we know these characters so well.
I didn't necessarily think it was slow either, but the first hour I basically felt like, wait a minute, are we watching a movie about two guys just vying for a Formula One championship? Because if we are, these are two guys that aren't that likable, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, neither one's a protagonist, really.
And I don't really want either one of them to win the championship. So it really is only up until the accident happens an hour in that I kind of understood that the film was about more than just the championship race.
Right.
The fact that this was written by Peter Morgan was what got me really excited. This is the man who helped Helen Mirren get an Oscar by writing The Queen. This is the man who wrote The Last King of Scotland, which got Forrest Whitaker his Oscar. So the writing here, I feel, is phenomenal. He really crafted these two characters. Yes, they're not exactly likable, but not everyone in racing is. It's based on a true story, and perhaps in real life, these two guys weren't exactly class acts.
It's not really about choosing a side, it's just about watching the experience unfold. And even though they have flaws, all their flaws are very motivated. James Hunt is a big jerk because he thinks that that's the best way to survive in this business. And of course, Chris Hemsworth as James Hunt is absolutely spectacular. I think it's the best role I've ever seen him in, period. I mean, there's so much for him to work with.
What else have you seen him in? Thor? I mean, that's pretty much it. There's not
he's in
much to
Cabin in the
compare.
Woods, too, but yeah.
Listen, I agree with you about Chris Hemsworth. The camera loves him. He's a really good-looking guy, and he proves here that he is so much more than just a Marvel comic book character.
And he does do an excellent job, as does Daniel Brühl as NIki Lauda. We
Yes.
probably know him best from Inglourious Basterds.
Yes.
I didn't necessarily get the emotion or the complexity of these men, and I didn't attach myself to them. I mean, I felt like Peter Morgan wrote Nixon as a more complex and sympathetic character than these two race drivers.
Those were how those men were.
Yeah.
And I felt that we got a really great picture of them and how they treated their friends, how they treated the women in their lives. The people surrounding them really showcased what their personalities were.
James, do you think you can cope with the pressure?
Well, I've never really understood what that means. I love my job. I love competing. I love racing. Maybe you should ask NIki. He's the world champion. He's got everything to lose.
Mr. Lauda, are you feeling pressure?
Do I look like I'm feeling pressure? I'm world champion and on the verge to become world champion again.
In a typical Hollywood movie, when a big thing happens, in this case, the accident, personalities would change. Someone becomes better. Someone becomes, someone sees the light and changes.
Doesn't change here at all.
These guys don't change.
Yeah, it only made them more like what they already were.
And I think that the fact that these characters don't change, yes, that's interesting, but it also, there's a downside to that, and that's the fact that you get characters in this movie like Olivia Wilde, who doesn't really have a whole lot to do, and really just serves the purpose to show that James Hunt is a guy who cares more about the sport of racing than he does about being in a relationship.
And personally, I've always been a great believer in getting there on the day, putting my foot down, and playing chicken with everyone else.
Oh.
But they don't want me doing that anymore. They want my body like a temple and my mind like a monk.
Ron Howard has found a really good partner in Peter Morgan.
Yeah.
Their pairing on Frost Nixon was superb. Here, the scope was much larger, yet their collaboration was still just as good.
Each of these racing sequences, which there are several, are all distinct, they're all unique, and you could easily, with someone else at the helm, get bored by just going, okay, it's just a bunch of racing scenes. All right, that's good. We've seen that before.
Yes, every racing scene had something different at stake. Ron Howard really lets the script strengths speak for themselves.
Totally.
He's just merely there to serve the script. And that's what I love about him. He's not trying to own the film.
Yeah,
and
it's not
really-
style over substance.
Exactly.
I think it's the most stylistic film Ron Howard has ever made. I think that he is pushing a visual aesthetic here above and beyond the script, and I think that people coming out of this movie will
But
say...
not in spite of the script.
Yeah, I think people coming out of this movie will enjoy the racing sequences a lot more than they'll enjoy the character interactions and the dialogue.
It's a character-driven film with amazing racing sequences. See it.
Rush isn't Ron Howard's best movie, but it's certainly up there. It's an intriguing story with amazing performances, so I say see it.
Rush may be more attractive to racing connoisseurs than general audiences, but Ron Howard's great direction tweaks it out by a nose. See it.
Cheers.
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 Tarani.
Tarani, we're out of racing puns.
It's a car movie.
Support for Just Seen It comes from Weaver's Coffee and Tea, makers of hand-roasted artisan coffee and hand-blended tea. Learn more at weaverscoffee.com. Support for Just Seen It comes from Warner Archive Instant, streaming hard-to-find movies and TV shows direct from the studio at warnerarchiveinstant.com. Kimball Beauty, offering a complete line of hair care products, is a proud sponsor of Just Seen It. Great hair equals great confidence. Learn more at kimballbeauty.com.